Dear representative of Rwanda National Association for Deaf Women, dear representative of NCPD, dear Jamie Dragon, Acting Public Affairs Officer in the U.S. Embassy, trainers and participants to this training, let me take this opportunity to welcome you all at RIB headquarters, invited as happy and good guests. I want to thank you for your honoring our invitation to the launch of this training of investigators on sign language. This is a training which was highly needed for RIB investigators and aimed at increasing their capacity in handling cases involving people with disability. It is true that it constitutes a big gap in conducting professional investigations, and our investigations mostly are trained in many professional subjects to conduct professional investigations, but none have been trained in skills to investigate cases involving people with hearing impediments. Neither do they for other disabilities requiring special skills. I would like, therefore, to take this opportunity at this point to thank the Rwanda National Association of Deaf Women for their support in availing to us sign language translators whenever it is needed, and for accepting to provide trainers for this training. It is important to note that gender-based violence cases are an issue that has captured government attention and has provided a number of frameworks to combat GBV and handle existing cases. This is another step ahead in this fight, where special consideration is now given to GBV victims living with disability, victims, suspects, and others. Specifically, deaf women and girls can be victims, perpetrators, and witnesses of violence, and hence, on one hand, they need to effectively communicate with the investigators and the interveners, while on the other hand, investigators need to be able to communicate with them and be able to collect any necessary information. This informed the need for continued and sustained partnership with the Rwanda National Association for Deaf Women in order to enhance the interventions with the required skills to respond to deaf women needs in particular and beyond. It is in that regard that this training was organized together with Deaf Women Association with the support of the U.S. Embassy. It is aimed at training a pool of 30 investigators from headquarters, GBV, and territorial units who could facilitate communication between a beneficiary in the investigation process. It is a training which may not cover all the needed knowledge, and it was earlier mentioned by representative of Deaf Women Association, because sign language is a large science, and RIB will continue to requiring the support from the professional sign language interpreters and the collaboration of Rwanda National Association for Deaf Women. But it is, we have to agree, a good starting as RIB embarks on the journey to equip our staff with necessary tools and skills to handle cases involving people with disability in collaboration with Rwanda National Association for Deaf Women, specifically and generally with NCPD. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the U.S. Embassy for their collaboration and for making this training possible. We value very much your contribution in enhancing the capacity of our investigators, not only for this training, but also for a number of other trainings. We agree that maybe before I also conclude, I would also like to share my experience with how impossibility of communicating can deny justice to people with disability. When I was a judge in a high court, it's a long time ago, we had a case of a deaf person. It was a civil case. He had filed a case in a court, and the day of hearings, he was present. The case was called, no one showed up, while the other party was present. But the other party took the advantage that the deaf person could not hear that the case was called to the bench. So the judge took the decision to dismiss the case because no party was showing. We had the case when it was coming for review, and we were all shocked to hear that the reason they're asking for the review was because the deaf person could not hear that the case was called for hearings. So it is from that moment I realized that it is important that sign language also be learned as a national language, an official language, as you mentioned, since it can also be a barrier to providing justice. So thank you so much for helping us in acquiring this tool, in acquiring this knowledge, in our mission of providing justice. To conclude, I wish all the participants good time learning these new skills. I wish I could be part of this class to know also sign language and be able to fully communicate. So I wish you good time, and I wish you to learn this sign language. I hope it will also increase your sensitivity vis-a-vis how we provide justice to people with disability in general. It's on this note that I declare officially opened the training on sign language to RIB investigators. Thank you all, and God bless you.
U.S. Embassy here in Kigali is supporting some funding to the Rwandan Association of Deaf Women to conduct this training to RIB investigators. So we're just playing our small part in getting this very interesting and inspiring program started. Deaf community, amongst the larger persons with disability community, they often, like other sectors, lack accessibility to justice and things of this nature. So this training, the 3 months of sign language training will not make the RIB investigators fluent in sign language, but they're also supposed to have a greater understanding through the training of the deaf community in general, and to develop a better rapport and comfort and confidence dealing with persons from the deaf community, the deaf community. And so that's our hope. I think it is very important, and in many places, dealing with this community can always use strengthening. So we're very excited that this is starting here, and we hope at the end of the training we can come back and see some investigators communicating and looking very comfortable interacting with not only their instructors, but in real life when they have to engage members of the deaf community in the course of their jobs.